Welcome everyone to the IronTree and Preferred Solutions webinar. I would like to really thank everyone who is attending. Thank you for your time. Today we will be discussing a wonderful product from IronTree, which is cloud hosting. The webinar is themed The New Normal. And it basically entails running your business from the cloud, not only now, when we have to work remotely, but going forward as well. We as Preferred Solutions have been working with IronTree for many, many years, and they definitely have our stamp of approval as a quality partner for providing really innovative services to help our clients operate better and more efficiently as well. Your presenters and panelists for today is going to be Stephen Cohen from IronTree, David Lees from IronTree, and Garth Cohen from IronTree. If you have any questions, there is at the bottom of the screen a Q&A button which you can press for some questions. We will answer either during the webinar or afterwards. We will contact you by email. I would also just like to note that if you have some video or sound quality issues, there will be a recording available of this webinar afterwards. Thank you so much, and I hope it's going to be a very informative session. I'm giving over to IronTree.
Thanks, Leon. Hi, this is David from IronTree, and welcome everybody, and thanks for taking the time to attend. We've been doing quite a few of these webinars over the last few weeks, and it's quite interesting. I think it's becoming something which is quite, people are getting accustomed to. The thing that I miss out is when you're doing something like this in front of a crowd of people, I always like to start off by just getting a feel for who's in the room, what kind of businesses you run, and you know, how you're finding things. And obviously I can't ask those questions. Well, I can, but I won't get an immediate response. So we are going to be putting up a poll at the end of this webinar, and really we'd really like it if you could answer the questions that we pose at the end. It'll just be a kind of a yes or no kind of tick this button poll. So yeah, unfortunately I can't single anyone out in the audience right now. What we started doing with these webinars is we actually planned this before the COVID lockdown. And what IronTree's been doing over the last 18 to 24 months is we kind of been transitioning the business into a sort of a more of a managed service provider kind of business, where we offer solutions, all hosted solutions, which are monthly subscription based, just like the backup, which probably a lot of you know about. But solutions that are kind of contributing to a business continuity kind of environment, or the ability to kind of work wherever you are. And this slide depicts really what we're trying to get to. So as opposed to the kind of old office, which was really prevalent before COVID, and it just so happened that this webinar that we were planning became quite pertinent, is in the old way of working, everyone was in an office building. Instead of having a sort of voice over IP telephony, which we might talk about a bit later, but that's another webinar. Everyone was in an office. You've got a server in the office. You've probably got a telecom PBX and an internet connectivity, internet connection out through a router in your office. And really everyone had to be in the office. This new way of working is that everything is in the cloud. So all of these elements are things that you can easily put into your business or migrate to. That means that you can work wherever you are, whenever you are. And it's not only a question of working remotely, it's also the ability to protect yourself against disruptive events, whether that's load shedding, power surges or dips, theft, natural disasters, you know, even things like traffic issues, which means people can't get to work. If you have everything in the cloud, it really creates an environment where you've got continuity and you're mitigating against any disruptions. So today we're going to be talking about cloud hosting, and I'm going to hand over to my partner, Steve Cohen. Some of you might have seen him speak before he joined us about 2.5 years ago. In fact, it's almost 3 years ago. Stephen was the CEO of Sage Pastel. So he's going to talk a little bit about cloud hosting. So over to you, Steve.
Thank you very much, David. And Leon, thanks for giving us the opportunity as Preferred Solutions to do the seminar. Everyone, what we're talking today about is really, we've called it the new way of working. For me, it's also about simplifying your life and really being able to run your business without worrying about the RT side of the business and the antivirus and ransomware and just being an electricity and working so efficiently and knowing that all your main line of business applications are actually run from a single point, and it allows you to not only be safe but also work remotely. If you're overseas, if you're on holiday, which probably isn't a good thing because you shouldn't be working, but it gives you absolute freedom. When you think about your current environment, you need to think carefully about the RT in my business, the technology side. How much does it cost, obviously? And the cost question is not easy to answer because very often you're upgrading machines are going down, so there's business interruption, all that kind of stuff. I want you to think about that as we go through this presentation, because you just have a much more smoother, predictable spend, and you'll see that you will save costs not only over the long term, but even in the short term. Can we go to the next slide, Hope? Okay, so what does this do, this actual system that we're talking about today? First of all, from a security point of view, backup, restore, there are two main concepts to talk about. What is your recovery time objective and what is your recovery point objective? That really refers to if you have an issue and you need to restore data, how current is that data, which is a recovery point, and how quickly does it take you to get up and running again? That refers to your recovery time objective. Now, in a normal environment, if you have a computer that's stolen or corruption on your server or ransomware, some of the stuff can take days to sort out. On this particular system, it takes hours. The complex is simplified completely. Because our data center is at Vodacom, where they have 24/7 security and enough diesel for 6 months. If you have load shedding and you have a laptop, let's say, or battery supply, you just carry on working from your laptop, notebook, computer, whatever it is, because Vodacom, our data center, IronTree's data center, never goes down. So a power failure can't create any issues for you with your data like it often does. Because all that happens is that you may lose a connection, but your Pastel or your Evolution is still running on the IronTree server. All you need is an internet connection to reach it. So you need to try and think conceptually here that actually nothing is running on your own hardware except your screen. And that screen is giving you a view of your Evolution or your Pastel partner hosted on the IronTree data center. It obviously makes, you've got to separate that from being able to log in from anywhere, because pretend your auditors are doing a year-end audit. You will just allow them to log into the server. They can actually do 80% of their work from their offices. And then they can just arrive at your office when they need to see physical documentation, talk to management and all that kind of stuff. So it really, besides providing all the security and simplicity that I'm talking about, it also provides a huge amount of convenience in working with the system. All right, the current state of affairs, specifically in South Africa. Load shedding is a reality which corrupts databases and obviously drops productivity and the huge amount of frustration associated with that. There have been 151 million ransomware attacks in 2019. It's not will you get hit, it's when will you get hit. Upgrading local infrastructure is expensive and time consuming. I just need to say something about that. Once again, when you think of costs of the current IT infrastructure, if you want to add memory or hard drive space to one of your servers or your machines in your office, you've got to send it away to be repaired, or, you know, actually stop working while somebody upgrades it. With this system, all you do is tell us you want more memory or you want more power, and with just seriously clicking a little button on a screen, we just increase your capacity. This particular solution probably 5 years ago wasn't as popular as it has become over the last 2 years, and that's mainly because most people have fast internet connection. In Johannesburg, certainly most people have fiber, but even if you've got a decent ADSL line, you can work with it. So its time has really come, and that's why that point 5 about remote workers or the new normal. It's got nothing to do with COVID. It's the infrastructure of technology these days that has improved to the extent where you can now easily work remotely without any hassle. Next slide. So at the moment, you probably have in this picture, you've got 5 computers in your office, and a lot of people have a physical server in their office as well. Now, the issue with that is everything I've been speaking about. But if that physical server is stolen or it crashes or you have power failures, you then have issues. In the new environment, that physical server in your office is actually replaced by our hosted environment at Vodacom's data center. So in the picture that you see there, you now have your office computers on the left, and you need to be careful when you say office computers because they could be laptops that you take home and you carry on working. We then provide you with a secure and encrypted connection called a VPN, and that connection connects to IronTree's virtual private environment at Vodacom. So that connection you see in the middle, you need to please be confident that every single bit of data that is sent between your remote desks, your remote computers, and the IronTree hosted servers is encrypted. And your office is just wherever you want it to be. There is absolutely nothing to do. If you're working in your office and you go home, there's actually nothing to do. You just carry on working. It's like you're still in the office. In fact, we're completely agnostic about where you choose to be working from. So let's go through some of the misconceptions about virtual private servers. Because remember, you are now, if you use IronTree server, you have a virtual private server in the IronTree infrastructure at Vodacom. And through our conversations we've had with clients, these are some of the misconceptions. A virtual private server runs on my own hardware. It actually doesn't. Your own hardware are just screens, windows that look at the server running on IronTree's data center grade servers. So the server that you currently have in your office is not needed anymore. It's not that you're moving that server to Vodacom. We're actually creating a space at Vodacom on IronTree's infrastructure where all your stuff now sits. I still need to worry about hardware upgrades. As I mentioned 5 minutes ago, it's no issue. You just phone us and say, you know what? We've got a lot busier. We need more memory. We need more hard drive space, CPUs. We just, in a soft way, add it just by clicking a button on our screen. I still need to worry about server licenses. You don't. IronTree takes care of all that stuff. My data is at risk of corruption and theft in a hosted environment. Those risks are vastly minimized because we're backing up your data every single hour. So if you phone us and say something's gone wrong, we just restore backup from an hour ago, and it probably takes us about half an hour to do. So we're taking care of all that stuff. You don't have to worry about it. The server performance is limited in a hosted environment. The question's a bit rhetorical because it's not. Our hardware is top-notch. We only use Hewlett Packard, IBM, and Cisco stuff. So in fact, I have a client who, once they moved to the system, it actually speeded things up for them because their hardware in their office was actually quite old, and they were thinking of spending, I think it was about 200,000 Rand upgrading their laptops. All of a sudden, everything got faster with doing nothing just by using the IronTree virtual server, because our stuff is so fast and quick at the data center that you will enjoy that speed. My users don't know how to work on a virtual private server. Honestly, nothing changes. We set it up for you. Your screen will look exactly the same as it always did. Things will work exactly the way they used to. There's really nothing to learn. Processing speed will be affected because, now people are thinking, well, I'm working over the internet. It's not, and I just need to explain this. Because of the power that we have on this huge infrastructure at Vodacom, the stuff is often very quick, and all your local computer's doing is just providing a screen to what's happening on the virtual private server. No data is really going up and down except for keyboard strokes. So if you're typing an invoice, all that's traveling across the internet is the actual keyboard strokes that you're making about the customer's number, let's say, and the stock item that you're selecting. All the processing power is actually happening on IronTree's, in IronTree's environment. Next slide.
Steve, I just want to butt in there and just to talk a little bit about a virtual private server, and maybe you or Garth could field this question, because Stephen correctly said, when you host, it's not like we come and pick up your physical server and put it in our data center, but it's also not as if we've got racks and racks and racks in the data center where we've got like physical servers, or today they call them blades, that you slot in. That we don't have one of those for each customer. So Garth, maybe you best to answer this, as to explain what actually is a virtual private server, a virtual server.
Okay, so in the old days, even currently, guys have got a physical server, physical machine in their offices, and everything happens on that physical machine. And what Steve has just explained, when you are working internally in your office, your workstation is talking to that physical machine. In the hosted environment, or in the virtual hosted environment, the hardware virtually becomes redundant, or the user doesn't even know about the hardware. A server and multiple servers are created on a physical device in the data center. So it's not a physical machine. It's a virtual thing. And as Steve was saying, all it's doing, there's no data going up and down to IronTree. It's just a picture that's being painted on your screen.
Thanks. So really what I wanted to get to is that what we've got is, we've just got this massive computing power. We've spent quite a lot of money, fortune of money, on a huge one big server with like unlimited resources that we can just provision multiple virtual servers on that one device. So it makes it really easy to manage and very elastic to just tweak it to cope with the demands of every single client.
Dave, it was well explained. It's really a pool of memory and hard disk space and CPUs, and then we just allocate you your portion. And so it's all elastic, as David said. So if you want more allocated to you in a year's time, you just say, I want more. You don't have to go and spend another 100,000 Rand on the server. You just say, I want more, and we'll tell you it's going to be an extra 150 Rand a month. That's how it works. So how do we compare with other hosting companies? Because obviously, if you're doing your work, you're going to check around for other quotes and stuff like that. And I'm proud to say that, Preferred Solutions, who was Pastor's top reseller for years, has given IronTree their stamp of approval. So if you go and look at competitors out there, very often it's a do-it-yourself thing. They will give you a server, and then you've got to look after it. Even if it's a virtual server, you've got to make sure it's patched in terms of the software that you're running. Are they on the later versions? Is it cybersecurity? Are there backups? You've got to do all of that. We do it for you. State-of-the-art virtual environment fit for purpose. IronTree's got that. As I said, it's Cisco, Hewlett-Packard, and IBM. A lot of our competitors are still running on quite old hardware, and a lot of them also, you need to make sure where is the actual building where this virtual environment is kept. And I don't think you can get safer than Vodacom. I've been there myself a couple of times. You've got to make an appointment before you go, fingerprint scanning, face recognition, and then, as I said, the 6-month diesel backup generator. Unlimited, uncapped, unshaped bandwidth. If you go to competitors like, let's say, Microsoft, they'll give you a price, but then every month, depending on how much activity is on that server, they charge you. So your price kind of fluctuates every month. With us, it's a fixed price. We will help you migrate your server, your applications, and your data. Our competitors don't. They'll say to you, there's your virtual environment. You must migrate the data, and you've got to set it up. We will actually set it up for you. And obviously, Preferred Solutions will still be your kind of mainline business application provider. Let's just choose Evolution. So Preferred Solutions will still be doing the Evolution work that they've always done. It's just now they'll have the convenience of not having to go out to you all the time. They'll just work from the virtual server. Proactive management of your hosting, including network security and availability. Normally, you've got to take care of that. Here, we will. Proactive monitoring of the server, which is very important. So we've got graphs that actually alert us if one of the environments are kind of running out of hard disk space or the memory's low. We do all of that for you. Our competitors generally don't. Next slide. Secure, encrypted, and private access to your dedicated server. A lot of people don't pay attention to this, but because we provide you with your own IP address, you don't have any of those issues. Printing is often a bit of a nightmare in these hosted environments. We've solved that with a great product that we use, and currently we have around 100 businesses hosting with us. We only went into the business about a year ago, and nobody has printing issues. In fact, we've even got a hardware retail store where the cash store opens and closes based on the technology we use, which kind of 3 years ago you couldn't do. We protect you with ransomware. On normal servers, you've got to do all the ransomware antivirus stuff. Our thing's completely protected. I've mentioned patch management. Your SQL maintenance, we will help you with that, and obviously Preferred does that as well. Manage backup and restores. You don't have to worry about it. We'll send you a report at the end of each month to tell you everything's cool. If you want it on a daily basis, we'll give it to you as well. Blazingly fast recovery of data or full service. So if you, let's say, made huge mistakes in your accounting software and you needed to restore, you'll phone us. We'll do it within an hour. You'll have your new version or your old version now restored into the new environment. We manage complex hosting environments with multiple servers. And what I love to say about IronTree, and I think that this is something that this world needs to think about, we're still human. When you pick up the phone, you can say, I want to talk to Trent. I want to talk to Jared. I want to talk to Byron. You're not just put into a pool of call center agents or just do everything through chat. You still know who you're talking to, and I think human interaction is just so important.
Steve, I just want to add.
Yeah.
I just want to add in a little bit. I just want to go back to, you mentioned patch management. And I know this webinar is about hosting, not patch management. But I think what we found is that, you know, people don't really understand the importance of patch management. And I mean, I'm sure everyone watching here understands, well, patch management is making sure that the operating system, Windows or whatever it is, has downloaded the latest patch. But no one really understands how important that is, because it almost becomes like, oh no, there's another Windows patch. Do I really have to do this now? What we've discovered, well, ourselves, but over the years, is that proper patch management is your best defense against cyber crime and malware. And really what happens is you kind of get bored or frustrated that there's so many patches. Like some weeks there's like one every day, and these are all security patches. So what happens, and this is, as I said, it's going off a little bit at a tangent about our cybersecurity webinar, but cyber criminals really are targeting environments where it's easy for them to hack into, where there are common vulnerabilities. And really, if you haven't patched, it means you haven't installed the latest security update, and that's where the common vulnerabilities are, and that's where the cyber criminals are actually targeting. And that's why so many people get hit with cybercrime, even though they've got some form of antivirus on their system. So I just wanted to make that point that Stephen mentioned. Our solution includes making sure that your server is patched up to date. Sorry,
No,
Steve.
if I can just expand on that. I mean, a nice analogy is to think about a thief who's walking down a street and he's deciding which house to rob. The chances are he's going to go for the houses with, they may have security systems, but he knows that it's old technology and he can, you know, he can get in there easily. It's the same thing. Software is weird because you can't see it. It's not an electric fence, but it's actually the same thing. So if they can get into the stuff that's not well protected, and having up-to-date software is so important in that, that's going to be their obvious line of attack. You can see from this side, all we will do, okay, so how does it actually work? We will set up this VPN, this virtual private network where your data is encrypted. You will get that connection going, and then you just carry on working like nothing happened. So in the morning, you'll just log into your account, and this is the screen you'll see. You will have each user on your network will have their own desktop, their own document stores. What's beautiful about this is that it's not like everyone has to see the same desktop. It's still totally personalized to the way you want to work, but it's all in one place. So even though because normally think about it, if lots of you have your own desktops, it normally means that you each have your own laptop as well. What's beautiful about this is that you can each have your own desktops in the same virtual environment. So if you put a Excel spreadsheet on your desktop and your co-worker puts an Excel spreadsheet on their desktop, it's actually stored on the same virtual server, which means that when a backup is run, all that data is being protected at once instead of each machine having to do their own backup. Next slide, Dave.
I think I wanted to just also make a point on this one, which the kind of magic for me is, and you mentioned it earlier, when you're hosting, if you have an issue on your local environment, a power surge or power outage or whatever, you know, normally what happens is if your machine, you're working on your desktop and your machine crashes or the server in your office crashes and it reboots, you kind of come back to the beginning and you've got to, you know, start all over again with the work that you were doing. Whereas with a hosted server, what you're seeing on this picture here, this desktop, if you've got an application open and, you know, your laptop runs out of battery or you have a power failure, it doesn't matter, because when you start up your laptop again and log on, it's going to take you back to that identical point that you were. It's almost like, how is this possible? I haven't actually lost anything.
David, I'm happy you raised that point, because often I take it for granted, because it actually took a while for the penny to drop for me, you know, over the 2 years I've been at IronTree. But if your whole office shuts down from a power failure, the applications are still running at Vodacom. So when you log on, it almost thinks you're still there. And it takes time to actually adjust your thinking to realize, oh, that's what's really happening. So I hope everyone just gets it. It took me a while. Okay, some of the stories. I spoke about a friend of mine who runs a massive manufacturing outfit in Brits. They make bags that farmers use, and if you go to Woolworths, a lot of those packaging they make. So because their machines are so electricity intensive, whenever they used to power on in the morning, often it would affect the electricity, and the data, the evolution data, would get corrupted. Since they went onto our system, they've had no data corruption. And as I said to you earlier on, it's actually foster for them. So I just think that that's a great story to tell, because it just makes such a difference. There's another preferred client called United Building Supplies, and they had, I think, 80 users go on their network. And they've said that since moving over onto our system, things have become just so simplified for them. And you need to understand, it's always sometimes it takes a while for the client to make a decision about whether to use the service or not. But really, seeing is believing. And we're happy to set up demonstration environments where you can work for a week and actually see help. It actually, you know, does what these people are saying. A year later, you would say, I don't know how I ever worked in such a messy way before. It's now so clean and simple.
Steve, just another point on that. Your maintenance, let's take evolution. If you want to upgrade or there are changes to be made, so this 80 user site, if they wanted to upgrade 80 installations, 80 upgrades, 80 migrations, 80 testing, with this it's installed once. You maintain it once, For those with evolution offline, there's no synchronization issues. Synchronization is typically, it's very difficult and a lot can go wrong. So in this environment, the particular IT manager said, well, it's unbelievable. Nearly half of his day, he's got back nearly half of his day in order to, so now you can start doing proactive stuff instead of reactive.
Garth, I would have kicked myself if I would have forgotten that point. Thanks for saying it. So in a typical environment with, let's say, 10 workstations, with the example Garth gave me, there were 80, but there are 10 workstations, they all got the server in the office. Evolution is loaded on every single one of those workstations, whether they be laptops or desktop computers. So if Evolution comes out with a new upgrade, you've got to upgrade each single point where Evolution was running. Now, Evolution is only running once on the virtual private server. So if there's a new Evolution upgrade, it's upgraded once, and then everybody logs in. And without any synchronization issues, it's an absolute pleasure. I mean, Garth, I'm happy you raised it, because there were certain clients that were using Evolution's distributed processing, and you were synchronizing between branches. That doesn't happen anymore. So, you know, Garth made the point that there's a lot that can go wrong, and often it does go wrong, and data gets out of sync. It doesn't happen in this environment.
Steve, just to emphasize, you said 80 users. This client, there's 80 users around the country. It's not 80 users on one site. So they're connecting from everywhere.
Oh, thanks, Dave. I thought it was one site. So that even proves the point more. Thanks, Dave.
Cool. And Steve, do you want to talk about the issue we found with the crypto mining agent?
Yeah, there was another client who, they moved their server from their office into our virtual environment. And our cyber protection software picked up that there were guys from Russia who were actually using their server's compute power to do what's called crypto mining. All I know is that it takes up a lot of your computer's resources. And if you read about cryptocurrency, it's a huge thing that these so-called crypto mining companies take up so much electricity. So what they try and do is, without you knowing, they use your electricity and your compute power to mine for these, let's call it Bitcoin. And we picked it up immediately. We said to the guys, you know that people are using your service to crypto mine. They didn't even know that. So, you know, we were so lucky with that job, because they thought we were heroes within a day. But that's just an example of the type of stuff that happens. And I can't blame the business. It's just like, you want to do sales, you want to collect cash from your customers, and you want to have a good time running your business. So I don't blame people if they don't think about this stuff all the time, because this is our job. You can rest assured know that we're doing it while you're trying to actually make profits in your businesses and keep your customers and staff happy. So are you reluctant to move to a virtual private server environment? Are you aware that desktop-based software can be hosted on a virtual server? We've spent half an hour explaining that. Are you scared that there's a steep learning curve? Hopefully we've solved that issue. And do you think it will be more expensive than before? It definitely isn't. And the issue that I have is, a lot of people say, oh, you know, I've now got to pay 5,000 Rand a month for my server, or whatever it is. But when they put in all the costs, and even direct costs of what they're spending on their service providers to look after their stuff and all the software they're using, they then realize that, in fact, the costs are actually less, but the convenience is much more. Next slide, Dave.
Yeah, and that is on the next slide, Steve. But what I wanted to just add to that is, another cost that you would lose if you weren't hosted is insurance premiums on your physical server. And also what we always like to say is that when you move to hosting, you've now got a monthly operational expense, which is predictable, as opposed to your capital expenditure or CapEx budget, which, you know, every 2 or 3 years, you know, you've got to budget for 100,000 Rand or whatever for a new server. So that's a cost which you kind of ditch.
And Dave, very often people don't budget for it, because typically they're busy running their business, and all of a sudden they realize that they've run out of hard disk space, or they need, and then all of a sudden this cost or this cash flow item hits you. It won't happen in this environment. There's also that second point there. Do you worry that their data is potentially exposed to anyone in the cloud? We ring fence each virtual private server with its own IP address, its own security, its own domain, so you will not have these issues. And I'll go so far as to say that it's much safer in our environment than it's not. And we spoke earlier on that there is no user experience issue here. It's like stuff never ever changed.
Yeah, I think at this point for the next slide, we're going to actually hand back to Leon to kind of close it off.
Thank you everyone for listening to my story, our story.
All right, great. Thank you so much, Stephen, David, Garth. You are still welcome to participate in my side as well. So the reason why Preferred Solutions have so heavily invested in this relationship with IronTree actually has a few different points. We have been working together for many years. Firstly, we started off with the IronTree secure backup solution, which we have literally hundreds of clients on. Client feedback on the secure backup solution is people can literally not live without it. That is a separate webinar all on its own. For those who are not on the secure backup solution, please contact us. It is something you really need. With the backup solution, we really feel confident with IronTree as well. Stephen and Gar, for instance, come from a Sage software background as well. So their understanding of providing a hosting solution to our Sage clients specifically is expansive. They came up with a solution, presented it to us a few months ago, and we literally could find no fault. There was no suggestions in any fine detail which they could have missed. And this is a very big benefit to us as a solutions provider to our clients to be able to promote it and know that it would be the correct solution to you guys. The benefit for Preferred Solutions, for instance, to our clients would be the remote support. It was mentioned that we can just log into the server now and do a quick fix instead of a consultant having to travel to you guys. Some of you might not stay quite close to our offices, and the timing and the costing even for the travel then reduces. It opens new opportunities for our clients as well. Very honestly, we know of a few clients who's reluctant to upgrade to more expensive software. For instance, they bought into a Sage Evolution simply because of the lack of hardware, now having to upgrade the physical hardware, which is very expensive. Something that wasn't mentioned in the presentation as well is the licensing of your actual server. The yearly licensing, this is included to the solution as well. So you really get an enterprise level solution at a fraction of the price, and the power that's provided by the hosted server by IronTree is something that will make your software run seamlessly. I can really say that we have our stamp of approval for the IronTree. We're working closely together in developing new things and staying in contact with each other to ensure that our clients are looked after most. All right, I see that we have a question here. Vivian, the recording, of course, we will send the recording to you shortly after.
Leon, just from my side quickly, sorry, Yaku, just interjecting quickly. Guys, the poll is live now. I see there's 1 or 2 responses already, but yeah, I'd encourage you to actually take the poll. And yes, Leon, the recording will definitely be sent out to all attendees. If they had to leave in the middle of the webinar or whatever, or they want to forward it to a friend, we'll share the recording with everyone afterwards.
Sorry, Yaka, I just want to add, can everybody please answer that poll? It really allows us to not waste people's time, and we know who's interested and who wants to see other seminars, and it will honestly take you 30 seconds to just click those 6 different questions.
Steve, thanks. I was going to say that, and just, you know, scroll down to the end of the poll. So I just want, whilst you're doing that, I just wanted to say thanks, Leon, for those kind comments about IronTree, but just 1 or 2 more points which I'd like to make. You will see there is a question on the poll about would you like to attend other webinars. We are going to be doing a webinar question 9 about internet telephony. We do run seminars on all of these elements, cloud-hosted cybersecurity, Active Directory in the cloud, plan for continuity, and disaster recovery as a service. So if you're interested in any of those, just answer point 8 as a yes, and we will find out what your interest is. And then one last point I'd like to make. We did mention quite a lot in this webinar about evolution and Pastel, but hosting is agnostic, as Stephen said. It doesn't really matter what application you're running. We can host that in our virtual private cloud. Okay, thanks, guys.
Thank you very much, everyone.
Thank you
Cool,
so much.
guys.
Cheers.
I'm gonna just leave the webinar open for another minute or so, just to get the last guys complete the poll. Otherwise, have a great day further, and all the best for the weekend.
And just the questions, Jaco, I see Marie Ellen has asked the question, is it worth it for only 2 users? Marie, I think I would get Leon or Garth to just give you a call about what your environment is, and then we can, they can talk to you about whether it is worth it or not. You are looking at depends on your environment. Steve Trent is very, very in the background. Jaco, back to you.
All right, cool, guys. Yeah, that's a wrap. Everybody voted. Appreciate it. Like I said, have a great day further. Cheers, guys.